Anyway, this is Operations Officer Windfall, also known as the Devil, or Satan, or Lucifer, or whatever. Anyway, I work for the CIA too. There is a movie, a James Bond movie called. It's a remake. It's called Casino Royale. Anyway, in that movie, there's a bomber in Africa who, I guess, gets a text message. Ellipsis is the code name. Ellipsis. Repeat, ellipsis. And anyway, there's Bond and some colleague of his is there, surveilling what they believe to be the bomber. And they see him get the text message. And anyway, one of the Bond's colleague is not very good at surveillance, sort of like me. So I'm gonna shut my goddamn mouth. But anyway, that's what I'm trying to. That's trying to connect the dots here. Okay, I'm connecting the dots. All right. So evidently, in history, as history has always history has already been written. Everything that this universe is and ever will be, ever will be, has already been written. It's already stuck like wallpaper, like this. It's like that. Yeah, it's like that. Anyway, and so all I have to do is just find the portion of the history that you need to unlock, and then you can talk about it, and then you can do things. History is like a topography experiment. That is, you can't really change history, but you can move history around slightly. You can wrinkle it. You can pinch it. Right? Now, the muses, of course, are special creatures. I actually, muses came from me. Because, I don't know, I had to have them because I had to do something. We had to do something. But anyway, so the muses inspire writers, creative people, to do things, to say things. But what happens is the truth, historical facts, are buried down inside the text, songs, movies, TV shows, books, especially poems, oral histories. All of it is, when it's inspired by a muse, has historical fact buried right in there. And all you have to do is have somebody like me, or one of my relatives, my children, not John though, fuck John. But all you have to do is have someone to unlock it, to pierce the veil and see what's there. So today, of course, is June 29th, 2013, Common Era. And what happens is, on June 27th, June 26th, 2013, a particular security problem of some importance developed in the Washington, D.C. area, and that caused certain people to go certain places. And anyway, in the aftermath of this, there is historical drama, so to speak, that is being played out like a movie, like a play, like Shakespeare would say. It is the play itself. So, in this play, which somehow connects to 1979 and the South Atlantic Flash, like near South Africa, the South Africans and the Rhodesians and others were beset by native people, aka Negroes, black people, Africans, black Africans, who felt that the whites didn't belong there, even though they had evidently found their little piece of the pie early on. And they took to murdering the whites, and the whites fought back, and the whites were very cruel, almost Nazi-like at some points. Apartheid, of course, is the idea that you must set aside races, that races must be separate. Sort of like, well, I don't know what they call it, segregation in the South after the American Civil War. But anyway, in those days when, especially in Rhodesia, when the blacks would rise up, and they had a lot of Marxist friends. The Soviets were very, very keen on allowing them to get free hand because they wanted a piece of the pie, because there was actually minerals and things that they could have. But anyway, the whites took to burying things, weapons, and resources. There's this one guy on my Facebook account who relates to, I don't know, I guess he's a South African, and it relates sort of like he wants like all the good guns. He asked me what kind of shotgun I would recommend. I said a Benelli, an Italian-made shotgun, a very good shotgun, because it's an automatic. But anyway, with that being said, I had this idea of this maelstrom. But anyway, I have to cut this short because I'm wasting too much space. The whites in South Africa, circa, I don't know, 1979, 1980, developed kind of like secret military units that they used to, well, make catchments of arms and supplies. Should the blacks overrun the settlements and take over, they would be able to fight back or flee. In this case, they would flee. And there was kind of a problem with trying to figure out if they would be able to use their aircraft to take off and head out and away from the country if it was, well, embroiled in chaos. And so what the whites did was they buried huge underground containers where they put fuel of different types, diesel fuel, and also aviation fuel, which is a very difficult fuel to manage long term. Anyway, this aviation fuel in particular was suitable for most Boeing jets, airliners, such as the 727, the 737, and maybe even the 747, and the 707, of course. And so what happens is when Nelson Mandela succeeded in overthrowing the whites and took over South Africa as the first president. Anyway, the secret catchments were, well, discovered. Some of them anyway. And one of those catchments was a buried fuel depot with aviation fuel. Now today, of course, we have the idea that aviation fuel must be monitored carefully because it gets moisture and particles and otherwise becomes not useful for aircraft. I don't know, I don't fly aircraft. I know people that do, but anyway, to put a cap to this whole thing, those fuel supplies are now being tapped by a terror network that is long-standing in terms of its ability to, well, do very great damage to the United States and other countries that want to stand against it. We call this, us in the business, the intel community, the intelligence community, call it the unknown terror network. They're not really unknown in the sense that nobody knows anything about them. It's just that there's so many of them. I mean, there are countless soldiers, generals, cells. It's like a huge Goliath. But they're using that resource to try to damage a certain, well, public figure, let's say. We could say it begins with ALG. ALG, okay? ALG. Got that? All right. So anyway, I have to go because it's hot. Now, and on the now that you have the northern hemisphere and you have the southern hemisphere. In the southern hemisphere, particularly, is cool. Like, if you're in Australia, it's actually downright cold. Even in parts of Africa, it's cold, like where the president is today. I think I went to Tanzania, he said, this morning. Well, I have to go because I'm blabbering too much. Do I look drunk? Nah, I don't think I'm drunk. I haven't drank anything. I know I look funny, don't I? Sure I do.